Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. Peter Pan. By James Matthew Barrie. The narrative of Peter Pan is an entertaining one, but it differs from other famous fairy tales in that it does not include a moral lesson for children to learn. We don't know what the author expects of the children or how they should act. Instead, he introduces us to a character who refuses to grow up, which is quite the opposite. Growing up isn't something Peter Pan looks forward to, rather, he sees it as a means for children to become dull and uninspired. According to our knowledge, Peter Pan is not a completely positive character in the story. I don't think that he's good or noble, rather, he's pompous, boastful, and self-absorbed. Aside from being jealous and prickly, the fairy who follows him has little resemblance to the other good fairies depicted in fairy tales. We also meet the lost lads who have no remorse for being lost in Neverland, where mermaids, Indians, and pirates all live in peace and harmony. Author James Matthew Barrie's concept of a never-ending childhood in children's books is groundbreaking. Allegorically, the protagonist, who isn't growing up, is a parody on children's fiction in general. The Darlings and their 3 children are currently residing in house number 14. In addition to their 3 children, Wendy, John, and Michael, they have a daughter. With the help of her husband, Mrs. Darling takes care of the children and tries to instill a sense of good manners in them, while her husband provides them with a comfortable home, clothes, and good manners. The Darlings are also employing a nanny to help with the children's care, including changing their clothes and making sure they are clean. If the nanny's name isn't Nana and she's actually a dog, it wouldn't be deemed strange. In addition to Nana, Darlings employed a housekeeper named Lisa to assist with household duties. They had been living peacefully until one day, a young man with an unusual name came into their lives. Peter Pan, of course. Every night, Peter Pan, a strange young man with a flute in hand, would make his appearance at the nursery. It wasn't until one night that Nana's shadow caught Mrs. Darling's attention that she finally began to believe the children's tale. She put the shadow in a drawer in one of her children's rooms, and he ran away. The Darlings had to leave the house one night, so their mother shuttered the windows and tied Nana in the yard because of a previous misunderstanding. Tinker Bell and Peter Pan entered the room after the children had gone to sleep, and Peter Pan immediately began searching for his lost shadow. Wendy woke up at the exact moment he found the shadow in the drawer. She decided that seeing Peter Pan's shadow again wouldn't scare her, so she sewed it back onto him. In the course of her investigation, she learned all about Peter's departure from his parents and his role as the leader of the Lost Boys in Neverland. Upon waking up, John and Michael agreed to go to Neverland together after Peter Pan taught them how to fly. He and his wife were surprised to see their children running outside, and he realized he should not have tied his Nana to the fence in the backyard. Neverland's splendor took Wendy and her brother's breath away when they first arrived. It was on this ship that they discovered the notorious pirate ship held by Peter Pan's bitter rival and archenemy, Captain Hook. Tinker Bell was the first one to land on the ground while pirates fired cannons as they approached the ship. In the meantime, Tinker Bell noticed the missing guys and warned them not to shoot at Wendy. When Toothless shot Wendy in the stomach, she threw herself to the ground. Wendy saved Peter's life when he arrived in such a state of rage that he wanted to stab the Toothless to death. Wendy was well taken care of by the lost lads, who built her a house so she could feel safe and secure. Their hygiene, health, and nutrition were all in her hands. Tinker Bell's jealousy grew as she waited for the right moment to strike at Wendy. As if by magic, the pirates broke into Wendy's home and attacked and kidnapped several of the absconding boys, as well as Wendy. They escorted them to the pirate ship where they began preparing for their demise. Wendy showed courage by turning down their advances to serve as their lady. Captain Hook poisoned Peter Pan's glass of water while he was sleeping. Tinker Bell appeared at the last second to save him from the poison. In order to save Wendy, her brothers, and the rest of the abducted boys, Peter Pan sailed into the sky. It appeared that the ultimate struggle between Peter Pan and Captain Hook would go to the jaws of the crocodile when Peter threw Captain Hook from the boat. A carefree existence was enjoyed by Peter Pan and his friends after a successful battle against pirates. There came a time, however brief, when Wendy and her brothers were finally able to return to their parents. When she first saw them sleeping, their mother, Darling, felt she was dreaming, yet everything was real to them. The 6 missing boys showed up soon after, and the Darlings decided to take them all in. Peter Pan, in spite of everything, wished to remain a child and never mature. He and Tinker Bell returned to Neverland together. Wendy grew up and became a mother to a little girl named Jane as the years went by. When Peter Pan visited one night and whisked Jane away to Neverland, she began to talk about her own adventures as well. Wendy was disappointed since she couldn't go as an adult. Characters: Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Wendy, Michael, John, Captain Hook, the Pirates, Mother Darling, Indians, the Lost Boys, and many others. Characters. Throughout the story, Peter Pan, the protagonist, has the ability to fly wherever and whenever he desires. On the imaginary island of Neverland, surrounded by pirates, Indians, mermaids, and other mythical creatures. The fact that he is so strong belies his diminutive stature. He's an enemy of Captain Hook, and he's always come out on top in their fights. He also serves as a leader for a band of wandering lads who look to him for guidance. They can defeat all of their foes if they band together. Besides being arrogant and pompous, he is also sarcastic, self-obsessed, undependable and oblivious. As a child, he refuses to learn about the world around him, remaining uninterested in it. Along with Peter Pan, the other important character is Wendy. In contrast to him, she is kind, honorable, and willing to provide a hand to those in need. She is constantly mimicking her mother, whom she has learned a great deal from. She cared for the boys like a mother, feeding them, washing their clothes, cooking for them, and so forth. Aware of her beauty, she behaves in accordance. She maintained her ladylike demeanors even after being captured by pirates. As a result, she enjoys men's compliments and their courtship. As she grows up and becomes a mother, her persona reappears in the form of a young Jane, who continues her journey with Peter Pan. Wendy's daughter was reared in the same manner as Wendy was raised by her mother. She had the ability to fly as a child, but had lost it as an adult. At first glance, Captain Hook appears to be a savage and mean-spirited man who specializes in robbery and murder. Deep down, he is profoundly saddened by the fact that he can't stand when people treat each other cruelly. Fighting Peter Pan resulted in the loss of his right hand, which he now uses as a hook. The hook makes him look even more terrifying. Because he's a fashionista, Captain Hook prefers to dress in the lacy white shirts used by pirates on sailing ships. The crocodile that ate his watch hand is what scares him the most. His awareness of the crocodile's presence is heightened each time he hears the clock strike 12 or 13. Peter Pan pulled him out of the boat at the end, and he died in his jaws. One of the world's greatest mothers, Mrs. Darling is devoted to her family and adores her children more than anything else. Her children can always count on her since she is gentle and compassionate. Every night before she goes to bed, she makes sure that her children are not exposed to any negative thoughts, only positive ones. On May 9, 1860, a young working-class boy named James Matthew Barrie is born into a huge family. A weaver's son, he was the seventh child of the family. Since he was a child, he'd organized plays and performed in them as an actor as well as a director. Barrie's younger brother died tragically when he was 7 years old in an accident. That experience had a profound effect on his subsequent life and work, most notably in the narrative of Peter Pan, a youngster who never wanted to grow up. After completing his undergraduate studies, J.M. Barrie began working as a journalist and penning mostly adult-oriented short stories, plays, and novels. First and foremost, James has built a reputation in the literary and theatrical worlds. Peter Pan is probably the most well-known of his works. As a play, it was a big hit, so James decided to turn it into a novel. The Admirable Crichton, Jane Eyre, and Ibsen's Spirit are among his other works. On June 19, 1937, James Matthew Barrie died in London. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.